everybody. I'm Briana Holmes, and I'm so excited to be here today to help you learn a little bit more about Web3 and so that you don't get left behind. Again, I'm Briana, and I'm the marketing lead at Mueshi, a marketplace where you can buy, sell, and purchase fine art NFTs. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about Web3. And I have two awesome individuals here are going to just blow your mind with everything that they have to know. First of all, we have Olayinka, who was named among the top 10 influential African women in blockchain, and she was featured in 10 women who use crypto to make a difference in 2021. With more than 16 years of experience in compliance, helping financial firms navigate through domestic and international regulations, Olayinka is a highly respected compliance, cybersecurity, and risk management expert. She's also the founder and chairwoman of Black Women Blockchain Council, a benefit organization that educates the African diaspora around blockchain and creates opportunities for Black women in the blockchain ecosystem. We also have Sterling Ingui, who is a North Carolina regional site leader at Fidelity Investments and the next generation retirement product area leader, supporting the firm's workplace investing business. Her product areas include digital assets, blockchain, and participant account portability. Through Sterling's 8 years at Fidelity, she's led with a passion for creating innovative solutions that leverage technology and data-driven insights to meet business priorities and customer needs. While working with Fidelity Labs, the firm's in-house fintech incubator, she led development of new products and services to manage student debt, make charitable Bitcoin contributions, and mobilize client service associate careers into technology. So, as you can see, we have some top-notch experts here today. So, thank you so much for joining me, Olayinka and Sterling. How are y'all doing today?
Good. Thank you for having us, Briana. I'm really excited to be here with Sterling.
Yes, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the kind introductions.
Oh, no, the pleasure is all mine. So I'm sure everyone here wants to know everything, absolutely everything about Web3 and everything you know, but we might not have time for that. So let's start with the basics. If you could have one thing that you could tell everybody about Web3, whether it's a description or a definition, what would be the basic for you to tell anybody and everybody? Olayinka, how would we start with you?
Yeah, I would say Web3, the definition of Web3 that people should walk away with is ownership. And that's really significant in this space. As we're building more and more, we're providing more of our data onto the internet. We now have the ability to own that data and also reap the benefit of ownership of that data. We all know that Facebook makes a lot of money off of our data, but this is our opportunity to be able to now make money off of our own data that we're creating on a constant basis.
No, thank you. That's so true. And what about you, Sterling?
Well, Olayinka actually said what I would say, because I was going to say digital ownership as well. But to her point, what really makes Web 3.0 so different is that you're now not just kind of going somewhere to extract information or having information personalized. You are actually able to create, and in technology we say we read and we write, and you can own parts of this technology and this new kind of world and how we are engaging digitally. And I think that's what's going to kind of turn our communities and how we engage with each other, where we can have this economic ability to take what's in there, if it's the coin or the currencies, and bring that back out. Whereas in Web 2.0, all of that stayed there, right? And it was very much kind of, I always reference my children and my daughter's Roblox game. Everything that she made in there and earned or created, it stayed in Roblox. But with Web 3.0, we are able to kind of take that and tokenize and bring them back into our physical world.
That both of you hit the nail on the head with that one, because digital ownership is one of those things. I know I personally get asked all the time, as someone who people didn't expect to get into Web3 or even into tech. A lot of times people still think that Web3 is simply a concept. They're like, oh, Briana, how do you own tech? Like, how do you do that? That's not a thing. No one can do that. So I know that we're still on that journey. So as people who are pretty engaged in Web3 and tech, how would you describe what the journey of demystifying the fact that Web3 is still a concept looks like? Is it something that we could say, hey, you have A, B, and C? Or do you think that that journey is a little bit more free flowing?
So, I think there's a couple of things. One, I would say that it is evolving and that we have the opportunity to really shape it today. And that's where so many people who are interested in the space and are looking to learn more about how to get engaged and be a part of this, they can do so that we can help kind of build and own what Web 3.0 essentially really turns into and looks like. It is that collaboration of communities across that are coming together to define, and how that evolution will continue to grow, because it is here, but it is early stage, and we have the opportunity to define it as we have more people collaborate and bring forward kind of new thoughts and best practices together.
Yeah, I agree with Sterling and what she just mentioned. Just to go a little bit further back, when the internet started, we started off with Web 1, and Web 1 allowed you to read. So we all had AOL at some point, or Netscape, for those of you who may remember the dial-up phase. And then we moved on to Web 2, where MySpace was really popular. But as you know, if you participated and build your own MySpace, you realize that you couldn't take that content off of the platform. Now with Web3, we're able to do that. We're able to own that content, make money off of it, and also take it into any other platform because it's our data. And so that's really important for us to realize that it's still a concept that we're building up to. Right now, we still rely a lot on Web 2. We rely on Instagram, we rely on Twitter and all these things to add our data to, right? But unfortunately, we can't subtract that information once it's been posted onto that platform and take it somewhere else. Of course, we can copy and paste, but that's not the same thing as the ultimate ownership. And so what we're building right now is just to make sure that people understand the difference between the two, and also understand that it's a journey. It didn't take us, a few days to get from Web 1 to Web 2. It took a process for us to get to Web 2. So it's also going to take a process for us to get to Web 3.
That is definitely also true. Sometimes when people make jokes about how are we really evolving into Web3, I have to remind people, do we not remember when we were all coding and building our own MySpace pages? Those were the good old days. And now we have an opportunity to build out different codes, whether it's easy code or whether it's hard code, or simply buying coins, maybe it's collecting NFTs. There's so many things that will give you that ownership. And one thing I know that a lot of people are wondering is it too late for me to get involved? And the answer is absolutely not. So I would love to hear what you all think of some ways that people can get involved in Web3 right now. Whether you're new or whether you've been doing this for the last year or so through the pandemic, what are some things that you suggest people can do today to take action today, to go ahead and get involved and stop playing on the sidelines, to make sure that they're actually building that ecosystem that we're really wanting to grow and nourish?
I can start. I really think it's learning by doing. You can take little steps and you can start, you can listen. When I remember I first started getting into the space in 2014, when I was preparing to see what we could do with Bitcoin, and that was through Fidelity and our lab group. And I was looking for resources because Bitcoin came to me through work opportunities, and I had to learn, what is this Bitcoin? What is blockchain? But there were very limited resources. Today, my challenge is, which resource do you start with? Because there are so many. There are podcasts, there are books, there are videos, there are so many conferences and opportunities for people to start learning. And it is, it's a topic of the day. You'll see it everywhere. I always reference how I received an Evite, and at the end of the Evite for my children, it said, do you want to give the gift of Bitcoin? I mean, it's really more present than we think. And that just piques people's curiosity. And we've seen this massive adoption of wallets, right? Over time, it's outpaced in terms of adoption that of cell phones and people adopting to cell phones. So you'll see it in more places when you start looking around, and you can pick little things. And what I like to do is, whether it is a brief, like a news brief that you can read and just start kind of getting the basics, or there are a lot of great courses. At Fidelity, we really focused on, as we are innovating in this space, we are bringing forward resources as well. So while there's a variety to choose from, I'm certainly excited to share some of the Fidelity ones and how we bring that forward through our, of course, research and technology group that has come together. But we also have our Fidelity Digital Assets business that has this research page and has white papers and thesis for people to say, what does it mean to have Bitcoin as a first in terms of what its first digital asset, or what does valuation mean, and to kind of break things down. And then on ours, where we've offered Bitcoin to retirement plans, we are pairing that very closely with a lot of education. It's called Destination Digital Assets, and it helps people really understand, okay, what is Bitcoin and what does it mean to invest in Bitcoin? And that gives people an opportunity to take it at different levels. So I encourage people to just go start learning and using the resources that are at our fingertips, and then start looking at where there might be opportunity to try by doing and learn by doing, whether that's doing small investments, or whether that's just understanding how to create your own wallet to hold something. They're very simple these days, and there are a lot of options.
That is true. There's so much options nowadays than it was when we both first started. I started a little bit later than Sterling in this space. And when I did start in this space, I actually came by the way of the technology blockchain, which is providing us with this whole concept of Web3 right now. And the technology is very important for people to get a basic understanding of. You don't have to have a technical understanding, but I think if you start there with some books that are out there that basically gives you the basic foundation of what blockchain is very important for our community to tap into that. And from there, then you can start looking at the different use cases that blockchain provided us. Cryptocurrencies, which I'm sure everybody knows about, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of these cryptocurrencies that are out there, you can start getting a little bit more familiar. There's white papers for you to read. And then NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which took off last year. And there's a lot of information, a wealth of information about NFTs. OpenSea has the NFT Bible, which basically gives you a concept of what it is and how you can create your own NFTs and mint it on their platform, as well as different things like decentralized autonomous organizations or decentralized finance, which is a way for people to get involved in financial products as well in this space. So there's a wealth of information. And one of the things that we're doing at Black Women Blockchain Council is making sure that we're knowledgeable about the technology, we're aware of the different type of use cases, and at the same time, we're rolling up our sleeves to get involved and be able to build our own concept of what Web3 can be for us. You could build platforms, you can build, dApps, you can build so many different things for you in this space. And there's so many different opportunities. And we encourage you to join us on our community site where you can gather these information, starting from the basic, understanding it, and then all the way to the technical portion of it, where we're going to learn how to build your own smart contract.
That's so exciting. I love that you are doing that. And it is so helpful for people to start. You're right. Look at the basic. What is that technology? Get comfortable with it. And then you start building upon that. And how does that technology apply into your lives? We do. You reminded me, Olayinka, when you were talking about some of that with the podcast. We also have a podcast that Fidelity has out of our, it's a crypto brief you can find it on Spotify and other channels. And it is a really great way to get the sum up of a week if you want to think about what's the news and what are some of the things happening. But what you said about the technology and kind of understanding that, I think that's what really helps people get comfortable with knowing what is this digital world made of. And if you feel like you can't always see and touch things, and that is hard for people to understand. But if you understand the foundation of the technology behind it and how it's created and the code, and that it's open source, and you can see that code as you start understanding that, that helps people quite a bit. And there's a lot of ways that you can look at what does this technology mean in different industries, in different use cases. I just did a podcast with BDO Arista Talks, because we're talking about retirement, but they're saying, wait, let's start. What is a cryptocurrency, right? So that cryptocurrency 101 is really important. Before you apply it to the different use cases and technologies, you need to start with, what is that foundation of the basics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And it's going to touch every aspect of our life at this point. Fidelity just rolled out their own 401k that has crypto components in it, and the government are looking at creating a digital asset, central bank digital currencies. Several countries across the globe are already creating their own CBDC, is what they're called. So there's digital assets that's going to be somehow, some way involved in our life. And there's so many different use cases that we're going to start participating in. So it's good that people start getting that basic foundation so that way it won't hit them like a surprise when they start realizing, oh, wow, all of these concepts are out here now.
And Olayinka, you hit it with my exciting Bitcoin and 401ks was my big announcement in our area this year. And it certainly sparked a lot of ongoing conversation that was happening already, but we did see quite a big response in terms of what does this mean across different regulatory and lawmakers and policymakers. And I think it's really important for everyone to know that working in a regulated environment is our world. And it's very important to partner closely. And when we talk about education, that education spans also to how we work with these lawmakers and policymakers and how we can bring forward education and use cases and how we can bring forward opportunities to open up the access to a broader group, those that might not be able to transact in traditional models. Now with digital assets have more access. And by working with policymakers and educating on different use cases and how we can build a responsible solution, we are opening up the doors for innovation to provide more access across borders and to really continue to enhance how we can transact and share value in a secure way globally. And it's very exciting. And you know that very well with your background on how do we do that in a very compliant way and how important it is to work and continue to bring forward new solutions and new offerings with that compliance in mind.
Yeah, you guys are doing something fantastic here.
I love that you all know so much about each other and what you are respectively doing in the Web3 community, because as you all have said, education is one of those things that is so key. If you would have told me, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I had no idea what a wallet was. I'm like, oh, my physical wallet, let me go find that. But now, if you would have told me, 2 years ago that I'd be helping curate exhibitions around the entire world through mediums of fine and contemporary art, through NFTs and physical art, I would have laughed at you and said, absolutely not. Like, that's not a real thing. Who would do that? Why would you buy digital art? And now I totally understand the importance of partnering with those museums, with those galleries, and with those top collectors and artists across the world with assets that are both digital and physical, because as we continue to grow and as we continue to really navigate this journey of Web3, we see that there is literally something in Web3 for everybody. There's space for every single person, whether you're in marketing or in tech, or you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, you're just wanting to understand more. You're just wanting to own crypto. You're wanting to own NFTs. You're wanting to see what's on OpenSea. And understand a range of different things. There's something there for everybody. So in your experiences, what has been something that you've noticed as something like, oh, this could be applicable to people who are in this field, or necessarily, how would you say that there is space for everyone in Web3?
Well, you want to go first? Olayinka, you go. Jump in. I love hearing what you say. So you go first and I'll jump in after you.
Okay. Well, Sterling and I both are parents, right? And we both have school-age kids. And our daughters love to play Roblox. They're very much involved in that. And because they're already participating in a way that they know about tokens, and the whole concept of tokenization, being able to use currencies to purchase something, or tokens to purchase something, is the same thing that we're building here. We're using digital currencies or digital tokens to now be able to purchase things all across the globe. And so they have that basic understanding. And then when they start to transition into what we're building right now for them, they'll start to realize, oh, wow, okay, I'm used to this, you know? And so this whole space is intergenerational. It's for everyone from every age group at any different level. We have healthcare that are coming into this space. So if you're in the healthcare field, there's definitely room for you. We have companies like Patient Tree that's looking at how to help you retain your patient data, right? You all know that your patient data isn't synonymous to, I mean, it's synonymous to you, but isn't in your possession. You need to go ahead and sign a form and all these things in order for you to actually have that information and be able to send it to whomever you want to. Well, imagine if you had that stuff at your fingertips. And if you were able to fly or travel somewhere else and God forbid something happens, you're now able to provide that information readily, right? As opposed to having to wait for your doctor to be in the office and receive the information, sign over the information to you, et cetera, et cetera. You now have that information at your fingertips and you can share it with whomever you want. And that's very important. And in every aspect, every industry, this thing does really impact us in some way, some shape or form.
And I'll just add to that, it's the use cases also take into account how many different types of digital assets there are that people can leverage based on what they're trying to do. Because one thing that happens often is people classify cryptocurrencies and just put them all together. But we all know, or if you don't know, you soon will, that there are lots of different categories of a digital asset and cryptocurrency. While Bitcoin is the first and the most predominant one, and it aligns most closely to monetary goods with a limited supply of 21 million and other attributes, then there's all these other alternative coins that can be categorized based on how it needs to be used. So if it's DeFi, it's replicating traditional financial transactions on the blockchain, like loans or trade investing, or if you're trying to, you work with NFTs, and we think about those tokens that aren't fungible, right? They're not identical with each other. And so how does that apply to the art world or get into the personalized world of anything that you need to be unique and set that to be separate from everything else? So if that's your use case, you have this unique opportunity and unique token. Or then if it's stable coin, something that stays relatively constant in value and is pegged to an asset like gold or fiat currency, knowing those differences in the currencies help people think about what is my use case and what am I trying to accomplish and what would be best for what we're trying to do. And I think that helps people kind of open their mind up and say, oh, there's actually a way I could use this, because NFTs they're art and that's fabulous for art, but there's so much more that you can do when you just think about it being this unique token. So I think that is helpful. And as we kind of scale across industries for people to think about what are you trying to do and how would this look in this more digital world where we're, crossing more borders easily and removing some of that friction.
I 100% agree. The cool thing about, especially, I'm a little biased. Of course, I'm going to talk about NFTs, but it's so wild. I actually logged onto my Instagram the other day, and I know that this is not up and running for everybody, but I logged on and it simply said, hey, do you want to connect your wallet to showcase your NFTs? And I was like, what? I can share this information. I did not, because I want to perfect my collection really fast. But it's so wild to think of the fact that we have our tokens, we have our non-fungible and our fungible tokens, and now we're able to, I've seen people rent out their NFTs. So that way, if you wanted to gain access to a certain event, you can use this person's NFT to go to this event, or maybe you want some shoes or something of the sorts, because people, especially in retail, are now understanding how important crypto, Web3, NFTs are to the trajectory of the lifestyle and the consistency of their brand. I know that you all have seen the luxury brands are creating NFTs for their bags and their shoes and items. And to think that we're purchasing replicas is not exactly how it works. And I know that sometimes that's how people feel, but you're actually owning a piece of their property. You're owning that bag or owning X, Y, and Z. So it's really awesome to see as we move forward and how, like you said earlier, there's literally every single area Whether
Yeah, the categories and the use cases are vast, and we get thrown into using all of these, different kinds of words and languages, and like NFT, that's a non-fungible token, right? Like we start using all of these things because they are becoming fluid and easy. And once you start understanding why something was created or how it was built and its purpose, then you ease into this new digital world, and it doesn't seem so different or so something harder to grasp. I want to touch on a note that Olayinka and I talked about, a lot of getting comfortable with this new space and understanding what is Web 3.0 and these different technologies, is that we both have a cybersecurity background, and we both were saying, one, to her point, that it's understanding the technology, but then two, understanding the facts and the details behind how these things work and the controls that go along with them, that are often part of what makes them understand how cybersecurity can be, how you can mitigate the risk tied to this technology by understanding those controls around it, how it's built, how it works, and knowing the facts or the root cause of where an issue happened in the cybersecurity case. Once you start learning these things, your comfort level and your education around this opens your eyes up to the opportunities of what this incredible technology can do in our world, bring communities together and opening up access.
Yes,
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it's great to see that this technology is able to really give access across borders, especially to those who are unbanked. And I know you were about to say something, Olayinka.
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback off of what Sterling said, and she's right. Security is important in this space. We've heard countless times where a platform was hacked or a project was hacked, and that always makes the news because it's ridiculous amount of money, and people start to question whether it's the technology that's vulnerable, when in essence, it's the technology that's actually the most secure aspect of everything. The individuals, and she's laughing because we both understand, right? As cybersecurity professionals, it's like, we know that the main issues are always when humans are introduced to things, and human error, we end up being the vulnerability when it comes to how we interact with tech. And so it's the human factor that's really causing and allowing some of these instances to happen. And so when you start to realize, okay, well, you're navigating through this space as your own central bank, right? In essence, because you own your wallet, the wallet is in your possession. Now you have to make sure that everything is secure. You have to make sure that the way that you navigate and the way that you communicate with others is in a more secure manner. You have security in mind, as well as the way that you connect to other sites, third-party sites. You want to make sure that it has security protocols in place. You don't want to stay connected forever. You want to disconnect at some point when you're no longer using those platforms. And so, and you have to be cognizant. And security is one of those things that it's not a one-stop shop. It's an ongoing process, right? And people have to realize that as they move through this space. Other areas that NFTs is going to impact is our self-sovereignty identity. The government is really right now looking at how to apply NFTs to simple things like our driver's license, and there is now capability to do that. They call it soul-bound NFTs, where you cannot transfer it to someone else. Once you have that NFT in your possession, it's in your possession for life. And so now they can use NFTs to now create self-sovereignty identity. And our driver's license in the near future, pretty soon, will definitely have an NFT component to it.
Yeah, I think I am one that is a fan of not having to carry my driver's license with me all the time, personally. But as we begin to wrap up, I'd love to just end on a note of positivity and just making sure that we're really giving something that people can take away. So the last question, last statement is, what's one thing you want people to know about Web3? Really? Whoever.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Web3 we're currently designing Web3, we're building it, and everybody's voices is very much important. We're at the crossroads where now the individuals, the communities can participate and provide insight into how Web3 is being built, as opposed to having influencers or one corporation design how Web3 is being built. We all have a way to add our voices and be able to incorporate what we want to see in Web3. And it's all about ownership. So get ready for it.
And I would say that there is so much opportunity when you start learning and you gain the power of knowledge and you understand bits and pieces of how this technology comes together. You're not alone. You don't have to think of this as like all of this burden is on you to kind of make sure your transactions are always secure. You certainly have your fair share to do, but to this new way of working, it is a community, and there's a lot of collaboration on how things are being created, but also how people are addressing when there is a security issue or a breach. Last week people were listening to and coming together in the community to fix and troubleshoot where the root cause was, and people were doing this in an open forum because that's how that was structured. And I think that community aspect of how do we make things better with this open source world where we can all speak and troubleshoot and bring different points of expertise to the table. You all have something to offer, and as you get into this space, you can be a part of these communities. You can help shape and define how it is, or help troubleshoot and find where issues are so they can quickly be fixed. That is the opportunity where this technology opens up access for people to come in and bring their own personal uniqueness and expertise, but be a part of a larger, broader community.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for just participating with us today on behalf of Black Enterprise and this amazing summit. We hope that you learned a lot about how you don't want to get left behind and all about Web3. Enjoy.